Good morning and welcome to the July 29th Let's Talk. I think this is day 970 of COVID and about the 45th day of July already. Going to be a long, long month for some of us, especially probably Megan and Tom over there. Wanted to start off by saying thank you again to the residents. We continue to get so many positive comment cards, so many nice things said about the staff, from residents and from family members. And again, I say this over and over, but those go a long ways into helping our team members when we are having a month that feels like it's 45 days or 100 days long, and days that feel like maybe they're 48 or 50 hours long. Those positive comments just go a long ways to getting people to just keep on giving. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate the residents who continue to sacrifice and work hard to be good neighbors, to be good to the staff that's here working every day, and just be good and great members of our community. So just wanted to make sure I said that again, and thank you all for that.
And I want to thank all of the residents for the contributions that have come into the Residents Council to provide hot lunch one day a week for the staff that is working that day. We sent out a little notice a week ago about it, and we've had a real good response, and I just really want to thank the residents for continuing to contribute to that.
And absolutely, we're grateful for that. We're grateful for, we had a great board meeting last week, and Ms. Lindstrom gave a wonderful report. The board was very appreciative of what the staff has done, but what the residents have done, and the resident positiveness as well. They received a few letters from residents to the board, and shared those at the board meeting. Just, again, it was in a really hard time. It's been a really pretty good week, so hopefully we can keep that up and make the end of July and August a really good month. And part of what we want to talk about is that, how do we get back to a sense of normalcy? But I want to address probably the thing I've got the most negative comments about so far, and that's the changes in housekeeping. I know when my team and we made that decision to modify the housekeeping that it wasn't going to be a popular decision. But I want to explain why we feel that it's a normal thing to do. Why we have to do that. And again, as we look at everything we're doing on campus with COVID, we're weighing the risk to reward. And housekeeping is one of those services where you have somebody in your apartment for an extended amount of time. We know one of the easiest ways to catch COVID is that contact within a small distance, less than 6 feet, and for an extended amount of time. We also know that housekeepers and residents are pretty friendly, and they have a lot of conversations during a lot of those housekeepings. It just is a high-risk area. We've been able to eliminate most of those risks on campus. We obviously can't eliminate that risk if you need health services, a nurse, EMT, CNA. We need that service. Housekeeping we need, but we have to modify it. Again, it's the largest risk we have. The other thing, when we look at the numbers that come out every Tuesday and Thursday, is we've had 7 employees test positive to COVID. More than half of those employees came from the housekeeping department. And putting people in an apartment where we have that high risk, in a close contact where people who are being a little bit more isolated want that socialization, it's our feeling that it just puts a risk out there that we don't think we should be taking at this time. So I know that's not a popular move by administration, but it's one we feel strongly about. When we get to a point where we feel we can do that safely, we'll go back to the housekeeping we've had in the past. Until then, again, I think it puts us at a greater risk than we should be putting our residents at. So from there, hopefully the rest of the stuff we talk about today will be a little bit more fun. You have any input on that?
On housekeeping?
Yeah.
I had my housekeeping this week for 35 minutes, and I thought, oh boy, 35 minutes, look at this mess. So I went through and I took everything off the bathroom counter, and then I went in the living room and I picked up the ottoman and set it on top of the couch, and I thought, if I have and the cat's dishes on the counter, and I thought, if I have everything already, and it really wasn't a problem. She came in and she got everything that I needed to have done, partly because I had prepared well for it. And I think if, as residents, we just think a little bit ahead when that housekeeper's coming in, that we can get the most out of the time that they spend with us. Oh boy, 24/7 is making motions again.
Yeah, hand signals that I'm not sure about it. Let's talk about.
That was a vacuum.
I know. So she wants me to talk about the fact that we ordered an iRobot Roomba, and we're gonna try that out in an apartment or two and see if that will help. So once we test that and see if that works, we'll talk about do we distribute some of those to apartments where it's safe and there's not necessarily a trip hazard, to maybe make a difference so that housekeeper doesn't have to come in and vacuum when they're in there. So we'll look at that. And then the other thing I want to talk about a little bit that's not on our notes is the pool. We talked a little bit about the swimming pool.
Yes.
I think another unpopular move by administration was opening the pool to those people that are on a 5-day isolation but don't have any symptoms. And I wanted to explain a little bit why we felt that was a risk we could take, where housekeeping was a risk we shouldn't take. And the swimming pool, again, being outdoors, has much less opportunity for exposure, for passing the virus. The other thing is, in the swimming pool, you're in the swimming pool if you're on that 5-day only with the person living in your apartment with you, so there's very little risk of spread there that wouldn't be happening already within the apartment. We did those all after 12 o'clock, so the vast majority of our reservations are in the morning, so that there's probably a 12-hour or longer time in between you going to the pool the next day when somebody on that 5-day quarantine or isolation is out. Again, we feel, and as we read, and we're on webinars virtually every day, the swimming pool area is safe in most places, in most cases. You know, it's just open to anybody and everybody. We've put some little bit stricter guidelines on, but we feel it's safe for those residents who are on the 5-day to go ahead and utilize the pool and go ahead and get outside. There is risk as those people are walking through the building, but again, we're asking them to wear the mask and wear the shield. Tomorrow's 360 letter that goes out is going to have a link on it. It was sent to me by a resident, and it's a really good little news clip of how the masks really do work. So again, if those residents are wearing a mask and a shield, they're no more danger than us staff members are. There's danger, but it's not a high risk. So again, we feel like the swimming pool was a good risk to take. If you feel like you still need to take some precautions, you should. Again, I wash my hands or I use sanitizer after I open a door. So if you open the gate, whether we are doing that 5-day or not, there's risk in touching that. It's pretty minor because it's outside. It's pretty minor because right now most of the studies are showing it's almost a direct contact rather than getting it off of a plate, off of a doorknob, off of something else. So again, for the most part, this virus seems to be spread direct contact, person to person, within that 6 feet without a mask. So the swimming pool seems pretty safe.
Yes, and if you're worried about it, just make a reservation for the morning.
Yep.
Then you're there before all of the quarantined residents have the opportunity. I know, I see somebody out there in the pool area every day, wiping down the furniture, the handrails, everything. I know it's as safe as you can be.
All right, so let's talk about some of the good things. What are some of the things that around campus are going back to normal, or at least going back to kind of the new normal that's going to be around for a while? Again, I think it's been the last 30 days. We've kind of stopped talking about how do we get through the next 2 weeks and made a pretty strategic change into how do we get Westminster Village to a place where people want to live and work here, and are excited about being here, not just happy to be safe, but excited about being here. And our focus is changing in that direction. We still need to keep Westminster Village safe. We still need to weigh those risks and rewards, but COVID's not going away anytime soon, so making some more permanent changes or semi-permanent changes. And one of those things we really know that's been hard is no visits or virtual visits in place of visits. We did get a grant from the state of about $10,000 to help with those virtual visits, so we are buying some more tablets for the healthcare center and for independent living for some of those visits, for those people who do want to just Zoom or FaceTime with family members. Todd Armstrong and Garth Lorenz in Plant Ops have worked hard to build a room so we can have that in-person visit from the healthcare center to an assisted living to residents in independent living. We've tried that now about 3 or 4 times, and we have some big adjustments we're going to make. We got a lot of feedback on it, so we're going to make some adjustments to that room, so hopefully over the next couple days those visits will get better and better. But I know putting that together was not as easy as a task as you would think it would be, but they worked hard to make it work. They're working hard to make sure we coordinate that better and get that information out. But a couple of minor changes to that should make that a little bit better, hopefully a lot better. Garth Lorenz is in the middle of creating a room at Independent Living where we can have those outside campus visits to residents. It's a non-contact visit, but it's a resident apartment. Is it 1040?
Yes.
Apartment 1040, where a family member can actually walk into the sliding glass door, have a seat, and the resident can come in through the apartment door. There's a plexiglass wall, but you can have a face-to-face visit like me and Ms. Lindstrom have here. We can almost hold hands. She might throw things at me. But again, just trying to get back to some sense of normalcy and putting people face-to-face with their loved ones is important. Obviously, the next step after that happens would be to actually have in-person visits on campus in resident apartments. Again, our hopes are to be able to have a plan to be able to do that in the next 30, 45 days. That'll probably mean the person coming on campus gets tested that day on campus. They're not going out anywhere else. It may mean a 5-day isolation for the resident to have that visitor come on campus. But we know, and again, almost every resident who has gone off campus to a loved one's house has told me how important that visit was. How much, again, that just brought back a sense of normalcy and gave them the strength to keep doing what we're doing. So we know those in-person visits are important, and we know not everybody can actually leave the campus. And leaving the campus causes a bigger exposure because you sometimes see more than one person. You might see 5 people, you might do some other things. Having a loved one who come onto campus really limits that exposure if we do it properly. So we're working hard for that because we know that's an important part of life. It's an important part of life on campus. We're going to move a little bit slow because we want to make sure we're careful. We want to make sure the timing is right and we have everything in place. but the team continues to make that better than it was in June, better than it was in May. And hopefully we'll be sitting here in a few weeks going, it's much better than it was in July.
I have heard from a couple people I know that went to the assisted living and healthcare visits. And while it wasn't ideal, they see a lot of potential there. And that's what counts, because we know that you keep trying to improve, especially when you get a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, and that feedback, again, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the feedback 2 months ago and continuing to try to improve that process.
So write comment cards.
Write comment cards, absolutely.
About your visits.
Send an email, leave a voicemail, come to the Let's Listen visits on Thursday, where it's kind of Thursday at 1. That was a lot of fun. I actually, for the first time in I want to say in at least a month, I had a fun day at work. I used to have lots of fun days at work, but just being able to sit out in the lobby and have conversations with people that I just don't get to see every day anymore, it made my day. So come on in. Don't come right at 1, because the goal is to be one-on-one, not everybody there 15 minutes before. But we'll make it work however it works. Reducing the self-isolation. So again, popular, not popular, depends on if you leave campus or not, but we originally started with a 14-day isolation if you left campus for any reason. We went and changed the 14-day to 5 days of tight isolation, and then 10 days, 5 days, 9 days. 9 days of a little bit less tight isolation. So people are asking, what are we doing next? And the honest answer is our next move on those isolations is probably to move it down to a total of 10 days. We feel like that's a good choice. Our management team will probably discuss that in pretty much detail on Friday when we meet. And my guess is by Monday of next week, we'll be talking about changing that isolation down to 10 days. And again, so people ask, well, how do you choose 5 days and 10 days or 5 days and 14 days? Do you just pick them out of the air? No, we don't. The 5-day isolation is really about risk. Again, it's something like 95% of, it's most people show symptoms by day 5 after an exposure. And 95% of people show symptoms by day 10. So by taking it from 14 to 10, we don't pick up a huge risk. The other thing that's happened, and I don't even like to say it out loud because I'm afraid I'm going to jinx us, but not one resident has left campus for a doctor's appointment, go to the grocery store, and spent that 14-day isolation and ended up testing positive at some point during there. So the risk has been pretty low. So by bringing that from 14 to 10, I think makes sense for the residents and for the staff and for the campus. The thing we'll look at after that, and we're not ready to make this decision yet, is maybe taking the 5-day to 3-day. So we'll talk about that probably in September. Is that something we really want to look at doing? And that's going to really depend on what the numbers in Arizona look like. Are we at that peak and starting to go down? Are we going to go back up? What does September look like? And we'll talk about that isolation from 5 to 3. But I think in the next week or so, we will see that 14 days go down to 10. So it'll be 5 and 10 days. And again, because the risk to reward makes sense.
And that just means basically using the shield, the face shield, for a shorter period of time.
Yep.
I know that, like people who wear glasses, between the mask and the shield and the glasses, it's, you have trouble seeing where you're going. So, fortunately, the halls are pretty straight.
Can you read the next thing on the list? Oh, I can read it. So again, we kind of talked about that new normalcy. You've probably noticed at the front desk for the first 100 days, we had plastic sheeting up to block off one side. We upgraded that to the nicer plexiglass. We've ordered some of the plexiglass like this for the desks in some of those areas to make it easier to have barriers, because again, we know it's hard for residents to hear us staff members when we're wearing our mask. And we try to keep the mask and the shields on, and those conversations are really hard, but moving some of the areas, like Richard in the post office taking the table out and putting a plexiglass area with a slide through area so he doesn't have to wear the mask and shield when he's talking to somebody so people can hear what he's saying. So we're just, over the last 2 weeks, Garth Lorenz has been working hard to build some of those and get that stuff in place with his team. Richard and Johnny and Michael are just, getting some of that stuff put together so that, again, knowing that coronavirus is going to be around for a while, that we put more of those kind of barriers in place so there's a little bit less of the mask where it's safe to do so. The other big thing that we're really looking at, and again, hope to announce pretty soon, is looking at the dining venue and getting Ocotillo back open like it was before we closed down. We're not ready to do that yet, but I think we're hopefully a couple of weeks away from seeing numbers in Arizona. We've really been stepping up the internal testing and feel that it's going to be a good risk to open up that restaurant again for in room dining. So again, over the next 2 weeks, we hope to make that announcement.
You said internal testing. Have you done comparative internal and external, and how did they stack up?
So far, we feel really good about the internal testing. We've now, I want to say we've run 60 of those, and probably of the 60, we've done half of them where we've done on another testing as well. They're all 100% coming up the same. We're testing those people on the same day with the same test. We're still using, for certain circumstances, we're using the external. So if somebody had COVID before they come back to work, they have to have 2 negative tests, and we'd use that with an external lab. If somebody has symptoms, we might test them on the way out the door with the Abbott labs, and then we test them while they're home with the other one. So we feel pretty good. And again, it's one of those things where they've made some adjustments, and it's not the first generation of the speedy test, but we feel good about having it. It's really been a positive, as I don't know if you see the news stories, but some of the labs are 14 and 15 days out with testing at this point. And at that point, the test is pretty much worthless. So. Right,
it's hardly any help at all if you have to wait 14 days.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that about your equipment, and I assume you're going to keep comparing for a while.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll ever use it as the only testing that we do. I think we'll continue to utilize multiple companies. Things change. I think Sonora Quest was in the news last week, and they promised to get tests done, I think, within like 72 hours. And at one point, they were the ones that were more than 14 days. So depending on the day, we sometimes have 3 different tests. If we have an employee who's off campus, like a new hire, we use one that we can have mailed to them, and they mail it back to the lab. If they're a new hire but they're under 18, we send them to Concentra and they do the testing there. And then if they're on campus, we use a different one. And then same like we use for the residents. It's a company called Gene IQ. They're actually in Texas. We send them there. They've been fantastic. We get them within, typically, once they get them, we get them with the results within 24 hours. And there's days that we actually did the test, and less than 24 hours later, we have the results. So we've got a couple of good partners. but we also think it makes sense to not just stick to one, because if that source dries up, then we're starting over, so we really try to use 3 or 4 at this point in time.
Could you imagine if we knew 6 months ago that the world was going to change like this, what stocks we would have bought?
Yeah, I think those people that did know that are going to jail now, though, aren't they? Didn't we see a couple of Congress people?
No,
House get raided?
congressmen, they just let them off.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's probably not breaking the law for them. Could have sold all my stock in airlines and maybe cruise ships.
Cruise ships.
And bought TV dinners and face masks,
Well, and jigsaw
jigsaw puzzles.
company puzzles
Yeah.
and labs,
Yeah, telehealth.
or Abbott.
Speaking of jigsaw puzzles, was that a hint to me to get to the next line item?
Well, I can read it, can you?
I can read the top line, I can't read the bottom. It says next week, midweek. So we want to talk about games on campus. We had a number of comments saying, we're bored, and we don't necessarily want a staff run activity. We want to be able to just go like the pool table is and go and play on our own, and we'll wear our masks because we're still in a common area. But we were asked if we can get a ping pong table, so Megan ordered 2 of them. They'll hopefully be in next week. We're gonna move some of the furniture in the gym area, and we're gonna set up 1 table so 2 people can play, and we're gonna set up the other table up against the wall, so if you wanna just go in on your own and play, you can. It's a ping pong table, so if you wanna play table tennis, put in a request. We don't have a table tennis table, but a ping pong table, unless you ask Megan. And then she's also looking at a couple of other activities like that. So if there are some of the things that you want to see happen on this campus, now's a great time to ask. I think she's going to look at and see, could we do like a driving range, an indoor driving range type thing, and just some other activities that people might want to do, so there's more stuff to do. Tom Tucker is looking at getting the Major League Baseball season added to our internal channel, so that if teams are playing games, that we can have those games on TV in the apartments. So,
There's a problem with ping pong. Eventually the balls fall on the floor and you have to get down there and back up in order to pick it up.
so I use my grandkids for that.
Ooh. Can we rent them by the hour?
I wish we could bring them on campus and have them do that. We could look at, there's a tool that can be used to pick them up. It's
Oh,
like
like
a little
when you
vacuum
fish
thing.
golf balls
Yeah.
out of the...
It's something like that. So we could look at that. Otherwise, we could just kick them into the corner and the staff can come and pick them up at some point,
Every
spray them
15
down. And
minutes.
what do you mean? When I play with my brother, there's like 2 balls that hit the ground all night.
So your brother's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I saw a stack of games over there in the corner of this room. And I know what, you can't see what's going on, but I can see what's going on here. And it is all of the donations from the residents to the employees having a little thrift shop here. And that's another thing that we can thank the residents for, because the employees have really appreciated being able to come in here, social distancing, and see if there's some clothing or household goods that they can use in their family. Anyway, I saw a stack of games, so maybe we can look at that. Trivial Pursuit. that's before my time.
And I heard something about a jigsaw puzzle race. That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, compete at finishing jigsaw puzzles. Maybe in Saguaro Lounge, we can set up a few tables. Maybe have some prizes.
Sounds like watching a snail and a tortoise race.
Oh, you've been too busy playing ping pong and not busy enough practicing your jigsaw puzzle skills. We've got a lot of people who have jigsaw puzzles set up in their apartment. It's like, after bridge, it's the most participation in is doing a jigsaw puzzle, but most of the time it's on your own. And it'd be nice to have two people at a table working on it.
Yeah. So my daughter Caitlin, typically when she comes up to our house, she brings a puzzle. And we start that puzzle because she's there, and my wife and I always say, because we never finish it for the weekend that they're there. And then we are always mad at her when she leaves, because for the next 3 days we're stuck at the puzzle putting it together, and our back hurts and our neck hurts. And we're not inviting her back up again, because she's gonna bring another puzzle. Megan and her team are gonna put together a resident survey. So I encourage you, you'll probably see that in the middle of next week or sometime. Just fill it out. Again, we say this all the time, but we really do look at the comments we get from residents, look at the comments we get from staff, and really try hard to make this a great place to work and a great place to live. Most of what we're doing now has been modified over and over and over because of comments on comment cards, or just people stopping in to say, could we do this? Don't count on us to come up with every idea. You know, when we come up with a great idea, if you have a comment to make it better, make it better. Get us that comment. We look at every one of those. Just because we don't act on every single one doesn't mean we don't read them, we don't talk about them, we don't go back to those same comments later and go, does it make sense now? So please fill that survey out. Give us your suggestions. Again, if a ping pong table isn't the thing that works for you, it's the shuffleboard, get that comment in. There's a need for us to do some of those things. We want to make sure if we're doing them, they're activities that people are going to want to participate in. If there's ideas of how we can do some of these things better, we want to hear those ideas. I did have one question that was sent to me. Actually, I had two questions. One was the air conditioning filters, and we've been behind on getting those air conditioning filters changed. I know Garth and his team have been pretty limited, and they've got a number of them done, but he's going to have somebody on those starting next week, so we should get everybody's changed. If you don't want it, you don't want the maintenance guy in your apartment, just let him know when he knocks, and we'll move on to the next apartment, but we'll get those all changed out. And at any time, if you feel like yours is extra dirty and needs to be done, you don't have to wait for that time to happen. We can put a work order in and get it changed for you.
I had a knock this afternoon at 12:25 on my door, and it was Johnny with an air conditioner filter to come in, and I thought, oh boy, he's gonna take forever, and I'll be late to Let's Talk. But 2 minutes later, in and out. So they've already started on changing the filters.
Yep, that's how Garth is. Hey Garth, can you start on this next week? It'll be done by next week. Fantastic. The other one is communications. So not everybody has Channel 22 and is able to watch the Let's Talks. For, I don't know, a good 6 weeks now, we've been recording those and putting those on YouTube. And then they're usually on the Thursday. If they're not on the Thursday letter that goes out, they're on the Friday letter that goes out. So that you can just click on that if you have a computer and be able to watch this over and over and over, because I'm sure you got to watch this 3 or 4 times, right?
Yeah, in order to hear everything that was said.
Next week on Let's Talk, we're gonna play hide and seek.
Hide and seek.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I'll teach you.
Oh, I'll think about it. I'll think.
But just, so on the communications, on the Let's Talks, those are all recorded, they're all on, you're able to get them from the website. If you click on the 360 letters, somewhere in there will be the link. If you're having trouble with that, call reception or Megan at 2477. And she'll walk you through that or send you an email with the link on it where you can just literally click the link.
Right, or you could just go to YouTube and search Let's Talk 7/29/2020, and it's there. And Pat on the Backs are on
Yep.
YouTube, and those are usually posted early. So if you want to jump on your neighbors, just go looking.
All right, anything else you want to say?
Nope. Have a good day.
All right, see you all in August.
Bye.